Greenhalgh, the TV adaptations of the novels by Colin Dexter ran for 13 years on ITV, and then came Lewis and, of course, Endeavour. And we'll be speaking to John Thaw's daughter, Abigail, who stars in Endeavour as editor of the Oxford Mail in about an hour or so, actually after 9 this morning, so hang around for that. David Bishop's written The Complete Inspector Morse, a guide to the novels and the TV shows. Good morning, David. I mean, they're great, they're fantastic stories. He was a magnificent crime writer. But for us here in Oxfordshire, this is a classic case of the town and the county as a character itself in the writing. It's brilliant, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the joys of Colin Dexter's writing is his knowledge of Oxford, the town and the gown, the contrast between the two and the sort of the collision between the two, and then the beauty of Oxford and how he brings that across on the page.
Yeah, I was reading last night, rereading Last Bus to Woodstock, which I read from a moment ago, and he refers, I'd forgotten, to the Town and Gown Assurance Company, which features in that. But what makes Morse and John Thaw so compelling, do you think? Because John Thaw, great actor, but he brought the part to life, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. I think there was a lot of factors that brought it all together. I think it was the fact that Morse, when it was filmed, they treated each Morse story, as if it was a motion picture. They took 5 weeks to film it. The production values for the time were quite incredible, and so it revolutionized British television. And the popularity that came with that, the fact that, it's sort of at the time people believed the attention spans were shrinking, and yet Morse was somewhat more languid. It would take 2 hours to tell a single story. And the results of that was people liked having their sort of intelligence respected, if you will. So it was getting 20 million viewers, I think, at its peak in the early 90s. Remarkably, not only were they having new shows on ITV, it would be repeated on ITV, but it was also being repeated on Channel 4 as well at the same time, in prime time, which just seems bizarre now in retrospect. But it was the quality of the acting and the writing. I mean, you had people like Anthony Minghella wrote for Morse, who then went off and won Oscars for The English Patient.
I didn't know that. He wrote a series as well. He wrote an episode as well, did he? Fantastic.
He wrote 3 episodes. He wrote Driven to Distraction, which was mentioned in your VTR, in your audio earlier. And he wrote 2 of the earliest episodes from the first series. Anthony Minghella was a key part of the development of Morse back in the mid-80s.
That's a great fact. I love that. What's your favourite novel? If you had to pick one, Desert Island Morse. Which Dr. Dexter would you?
I think it's probably maybe The Wench is Dead. I mean, I love The Remorseful Day, but the fact that Morse dies at the end makes it a very hard read if you're a Morse enthusiast.
Thank you very much. I started, rereading it last night, and it was a late night in the end. You can't put them down. That's what makes them so good. Thank you very much, David. Pleasure to talk to you on this 35th anniversary. If you've got memories of seeing John Thaw film... Abigail joins us now. Good morning. Happy New Year, Abigail.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. Thank you very much. Do you remember when... I want to talk about you rather than your late father, but do you remember when he first got involved, when he first landed the role of playing Morse?
Yes, I do. And he was very excited because it was a completely different format back then, and he was working with all the his favourite people, and Chris Burton. Well, the late Kenny Bain was producing at the time, but it was a lot of his favourite people involved, and it was made like a film, which hadn't really been done before, and it was also 2 hours long, which had certainly never been done before. So he was very concerned that it wouldn't hold people's attention for that long. But the other hand, he knew it was quality, so it was sort of mixed, and it all proved very fine indeed.
It did. And how many years was he involved in the role? I was trying to work it out.
Me too. I think it's about 13 years.
It's a long time,
13,
isn't it?
14 years.
A long time.
Yeah.
There's something about this, as you say, that the production values we were hearing earlier from a Morse expert. This guy's written a load of books about Colin Dexter and Inspector Morse, that it was this filmic quality to everything. They really threw money at the production, didn't they?
Yeah, they really did, and they had. And I remember him talking about the lighting and the cinematographer, and from the sound, the camera people, cameraman, the director. I mean, it was written by Anthony Minghella, who was sort of lesser known back then. It was directed by Alistair Reed, that very first episode. They all, I mean, the people that were involved in the project were people who were very sort of, top of their game in the filmic world, and so it was great that there wasn't that thing that we have now where television seems to be the most popular platform. It was all about film, and television was film people were probably a bit snobby about television in a way that they're not now. So it was a shift over, and it meant it was slower. It's interesting. I was watching one not that long ago, and how much slower it is, which I love, of course, and it's quieter and calmer and longer. There's not so many ads.
Yeah, and a lot more reflective as well. TV is so fast these days, isn't it? And how did
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
involved then, Abigail? How did you end up
Well,
starring?
I got involved because I got a call from my agent saying they're making a prequel, a one-off to Morse, and they're looking for a young John Thaw. And did I know anyone who? Did I think any one of my mates at the time? And I couldn't
Wow, that's a
believe it. I
hard
thought,
question,
an
isn't it? That's a really
absurd
difficult
idea. Yeah,
question.
an odd question. And I said, well, I couldn't think. And also, I thought, well, why the bloody hell am I not in it? Sorry, am I allowed to say that on the first thing this
You
morning?
have now. You have now. Yeah, I can
I have
understand that
now. Sorry,
reaction.
everyone.
Yes.
And So I said, is there any chance I could just have like a walk-on part, or just like sit in the background, in a uniform, just a sort of all right governor or something like that? It would be quite fun, wouldn't it? And she said, oh, well, I'll see. Anyway, she sent my show reel off to the writer and the great Russell Lewis, and producer Damien Timmer, and Mammoth Production, and they liked my tape, and Russell wrote me a little part, which I think people who've watched it know well, and that was that. And then it went down quite well, so it became more permanent.
Fantastic. And what was it like becoming part of a production that was so much a part of your dad's life? You were playing the editor. It's the editor of the Oxford Mail, isn't it? For anybody who
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
know.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was just gorgeous, really lovely. And yeah, it was. I was initially slightly worried for Sean, because obviously, I wasn't muscling in, but I was worried that he'd be thinking, oh, blimey, we've got the daughter here now, and she's going to be watching my every move. And I didn't want to do that to him or make him feel, self-conscious. So, but luckily we just absolutely clicked from the first moment we met. And so that was very easy. And then for me, the joy of it was that so many people on that production had worked with Dad, including Russell and Damien and Dan McCulloch, people who'd all been involved in some way in the original Morses and were huge, genuine fans. And Colin was still involved as well. But I had the cameraman come up and say, I used to do, John taught me everything I knew on the cameraman. He was such a kind man. I had the drivers. I had
Oh
it
wow,
was
that's
so
been really
connected to
hard
him.
as
It was
well, though. I
wonderful.
mean, that's very emotionally moving. And you're trying to
Yeah.
perform meanwhile. Did that make it easier, I wonder, or not? That you were able
Sorry,
to.
what was that? You just cut out then. Sorry, just.
No, I mean, really moving and emotional to have to hear all of that. Wonderful at the same time, but very difficult. Was it easier to deal with that because you were playing another part that you could disappear into the
Yeah,
character?
yeah, yeah. And we were playing, it didn't feel like we were trying to copy it in any way. It was a very independent thing. That was sort of imbued with his spirit and his soul, and that was very moving. But yes, obviously I wasn't like um, it would have been hopeless if I was sort of going around blubbing and
Yeah, absolutely.
no,
Very
it was
difficult.
inspiring, and rather than debilitating, it was just lovely. And the sort of, yeah, it's like a sort of gives you a stiffer spine, and to think, that because I think he really would love it, and he would have loved it, and I think
sure.
he'd be very proud.
Absolutely. Filming in Oxford, I assume you filmed in Oxford, did you? When you can't move a
We
lot of
do
the time for
film in
film crews.
Oxford. We film at lots of places, but we also film in Oxford, and that's lovely because I also have my own connections other than Dad. That I was at nursery school there. My mother became a mature student, and so we sort of moved to Oxford for a few years, um, and the first Women's Liberation Conference, which in fact is in an Endeavour episode. Russell wrote it in 1970. I was there then with my mother, who helped organise it, and so it has a lot of memories for me, as well as just Morse. So the whole place, Oxford, is very special to me. Very special.
Well, come and see us soon, Abigail, when we can meet
I
properly again.
will.
It'd be
And
lovely.
can I do a quick plug as I'm on the phone?
Of course
Because
you can.
I'm doing a production of a comedy called Sheila's Island, and I think we all need a bit of a comedy. And it's starting at the Yvonne Arnaud in Guildford in February, and touring around till the middle of May. Maybe we'll come to Oxford. I certainly hope so. It's going to quite near Bath, definitely, and So that's directed by Joe Reed, written by Tim Firth of the Great Calendar Girls, and it's a version of Neville's Island, if anybody saw that. But now for women instead of for men. So it should be a good laugh. Some great actors in it. Judy Flynn, Sarah Crowe. So come along.
Lovely. All the very best with that, Abigail. It's lovely to talk to you. Thank you very much.